Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Remember, you have greatness inside of you. Welcome back to another AB Daily News with your hockey coach, Coach Frenchy. Today, episode number 259. What your menu coach today? First of all, Ken Hughes needs to shift his plan. Then, the genius Ken Hughes, finally, not yet for Pierre-Luc Dubois with the Montreal Canadiens. But before we start, we invite you, please don't forget to click on the like, subscribe to the Hockey Nation Live Show, and leave me a comment about this episode. And let's dive in talking about my first subject of the day. My first subject of the day, guys, about the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, Ken Hughes need to shift. What are you talking about? Here we go, guys. First of all, last October, when they trade for Sean Monahan, he became the wild card for the Montreal Canadiens. They was expect him to have a good season and then maybe to trade him at the trade deadline to get at least a second round pick or a first round pick. That was the plan a couple of months ago. But what happening now? The injuries sabotage his plan at Ken Hughes. We have Edmondson, we have Sean Monahan, we have over 10 players right now on the injury reserve. This complicates the situation for Ken Hughes because his goal it was to get a first round pick at least for the NHL draft 2023. But here's what I want to talk about today, guys. He could turn around because of the long-term injury reserve players now. What? Here we go. Let's talking first of all, guys, of the salary cap of Montreal Canadiens right now. $4.5 million with Monahan on the long-term injury reserve. Then, if the Montreal Canadiens want to change their plan, they could add Jekai, Caulfield, and Zavkovsky from the ER to the LTER. That would give them now a $7.2 million, guys, free on the salary cap. Not done yet. Why? Because if ever Caden Coley returned before March 5th, the Montreal Canadiens could add another $750,000 because they could return players, and that would give them $8.1 million, guys, on the salary cap. That gave Ken Hughes now to shift his plan to the first round pick to add other way to get asset. Yesterday, the Ottawa Senators and the Chicago Blackhawks did a trade. Chicago got Zazev, the defenseman for Ottawa. He still have a $4.5 million for the following year. In return, Chicago got picks. One of them is a second round pick 2023. So what you talk about, coach? Let's move on because I'm not done yet. So the AB could do the same, exactly what Chicago, Ottawa did yesterday. So that's give guys a possibility for the Montreal Canadiens try to figure out other plan to get asset again. Ken Hughes, since he got higher for the Montreal Canadiens, did a lot of great things by his friend trade. Remember at the trade deadline last year, the Likonen, the Toffoli, the Chariot. Then during the summer, the trade for Monahan and many others. He could use his magic again to get something bigger of what we expect now with many injuries Montreal has. We'll see what's happening, but I would like to hear from you. What do you think Ken Hughes is going to do? What do you think about the Montreal Canadiens need to shift their plan for the trade deadline? And finally, I will definitely respond to each one of your comments. So let's move on now, guys, for my second subject of the day. My second subject, guys, is a little bit what we just talked about. Ken Hughes. So what are you talking about, coach? But I want to mention to you, Ken Hughes the genius. What? Yes, he is. Because remember, he did a lot of great things last trade deadline. We just talked about, right? And then during the summer, he traded for Monahan with a first round pick to future consideration. Then what he did an amazing great trade, Ken Hughes, Petrie for Madison. At the time this happening, many fans, Montreal Canadiens was a bit not sure if this was a good deal or a bad deal for Montreal. And I want to show to you exactly, I feel right now, this is a great deal from Ken Hughes, and that's the reason I call him the genius. Let's see what I want to talk about. First of all, guys, the Pittsburgh Penguins announced yesterday they put Jeff Petrie on the trade bait for the trade deadline. Unbelievable. After only a few months, Petrie is already possible to get traded again. The biggest reason is because his salary could jeopardize the situation for the Pittsburgh Penguins at the trade deadline. Madison emerging as a leader with the Montreal Canadiens. Remember, at the beginning of the year, how much David Savard played very well, and he really take care about Caden Cody. It was a perfect pairing together. But Martin St. Louis did almost the same thing a couple of weeks ago. What he did, he matched up together Mike Madison and Justin Barron. Look what both did in the last couple of games together. Barron 3 goals and Madison had 2 more goals. Obviously for Madison, he missed 80% of all the game for Montreal Canadiens this season with some kind of injuries. Right now, Madison in 23 games, he has 3 goals, 11 assists, 14 points for the 0.61 point per game since the beginning of the season. Honestly, this is a little bit better what we expect. Secondly, his skating is unbelievable. When you watch him skating, if you give him some space, he will carry on the puck all the way in a great transition for the Montreal Canadiens. And that's the reason why the offensive side of the game now, since he's with the Montreal back on the lineup, increasing more, and the power play performed a little bit better too with Mike Madison as a quarterback for the Montreal Canadiens. Why the genius again? Because with that trade, Ken Hughes dropped salary cap from 6.2 to 4.8. Then he become younger as a defenseman, 34 to 28. And finally, we got a player happy to play for the Montreal Canadiens. He was born in Montreal. Overall, this is the reason why I said Ken Hughes is a genius, because he did another great trade for the Montreal Canadiens. So my point to you guys for this subject, I would like to hear from you. What do you think about that trade? How do you consider Ken Hughes, his job performance since the beginning he got hired by the Montreal Canadiens? Let's finish in, guys, for my last subject of the day. My last subject of the day, guys, is this. P.L. Dubois conversation is back. Remember, during the NHL draft last July in Montreal, they have a big news get out. The fact like Dubois want to play for the Montreal Canadiens. It got amplified by Dubois and by his agent, Pat Brisson. Since that, Dubois talked to the reporter. It calmed down everything. But the last couple of days, this conversation is back in the media. I want to clarify something here, guys. From Elliot Philman, the 32 Top podcast, he said possible Montreal Canadiens could get, again, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Dubois is still interesting to play with the Montreal Canadiens. But here's the kick out of this situation. In 2024 and 2025, he become UFA. At the end of this season, he's still a RFA with a minimum of $6.7 million per year. So for this situation, guys, I think a Montreal Canadiens should play the winning game. You have no rush to trade players, asset, picks for Pierre-Luc Dubois when he can become in 2024 and 2025 UFA. And finally, that will give a chance for the Montreal Canadiens to watch Dubois to repeat the same kind of season he has right now with 1 point per game so far since the beginning of the season with the Winnipeg Jets. Secondly, if Montreal Canadiens want to sign him and to get Pierre-Luc Dubois, he has to accept a lower salary with the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal cannot sign Dubois over $9 million on my eyes. If this is the case, I think this is a bad signature for the Montreal. They have to be smarter. And again, in 2024, 2025, that will be the first step really where Montreal could become a better team overall as a team. I would like to hear from you guys. What do you think? Would you like the Montreal Canadiens get Pierre-Luc Dubois during the offseason? Or do you prefer wait in 2024, 2025? Or would you prefer to say no at all? We don't want Pierre-Luc Dubois with the Montreal Canadiens. So leave me a comments about this subject. And this concludes, guys, all the subject we have for this episode. Here we go, guys. This concludes the episode 259. Today we talk about Ken Hughes. Honestly, he needs to shift his plan for the trade deadline. We talk about Ken Hughes, the genius. And finally, we talk about Pierre-Luc Dubois, not yet with the Montreal Canadiens. But before we leave, we want to remind you, please don't forget to click on the like, subscribe to the Hockey Nation Live Show, leave me a comment about this episode, share this on your social media, and finally, of course, we want to remind you one more thing. You have greatness inside of you, and we wish you an amazing, happy, thankfully Thursday, everybody.